Hello, everybody. It is now officially episode 4, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Mike?
Episode 4.
Yeah, episode 4. I am Matt Kelly. As you guys already know, here's my lovely co-host, as I say it every week, Mike Churchella. Church, Mikey, whatever you guys want to call him, the Mikester.
That's
We're
me.
gonna try and get that going for him. Anyway, today's a huge episode for you guys. We're gonna be talking about what are we talking about today, Mike? Tell
Today
me.
we're going to be talking about Peggy Carter.
Very excited about Agent Carter there. Peggy Carter, one of my favorite. Do you think she's one of the best agents of Shield?
She's
Right?
my favorite female character in all of the Marvel film universes.
Okay. All right. That's yeah. I have a different one, but we'll save that for another time. Anyway, the before we get into anything else today, I'm not sure if you heard the news. I believe this happened Friday afternoon, maybe Saturday. I think it happened on Friday though. James Gunn, guys, got reinstated by Disney, the Disney Corporation, which is Marvel, by the way, for Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yep.
And now, Mike, it turns out that they are going to, this is really cool, have Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is back on track,
Yep.
which is exciting. Don't worry, we'll do one from 4 years from today. By the way, in 2023, the movie is expected to come out now.
That's a long time.
So we're still doing this in probably our 16th season of this. By then, maybe we'll do a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 review. We'll see how it goes if we get the 16 seasons. Anyway, I'm excited about this.
Yep.
I'm glad Disney, I think they screwed this up. I think they screwed the whole thing up. They made a big mess out of it. As you guys, if you guys don't know, James Gunn and Mike, I'm sure you're aware, but I'll tell you
I'm
anyway. James Gunn made very controversial tweets on Twitter many years ago. He apologized for them, obviously, but still a lot of people got upset with his things, so his tweets, so he decided to leave Twitter. Disney fired him. All the cast members stood behind Gunn, saying that James Gunn is a great guy and needs to direct these films. Dave Bautista is one of those actors who really stood behind that. Chris Pratt got behind, and etc. The rest of the cast got behind James.
They all backed him up.
And then Disney finally just reinstated him. I think it took them long enough to realize that they screwed it up because with Avengers, as you know, he's credited in Endgame. He's credited in Infinity War. He's credited for all the Guardians movies as well. So I think they really did a good job of doing it, but they should have done it sooner.
Well, he's one of their best writers, if not their best writer. Like his writing is what makes Guardians of the Galaxy so great. I mean, the cast does a great job pulling it off, but like all the clever witticisms and stuff, that's him. That's the writer.
Well, I think, another one of the greatest writers would be Joss Whedon, obviously, the one who started all the S.H.I.E.L.D., obviously started the Age of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that.
And Firefly.
Firefly, too.
Isn't Marvel, but I love that show.
Right. Anyway, staying on topic here, the Gunn, I'm glad he's back into it. I think it's going to be good. I'm excited to see what they do. I'm excited what he did for Avengers Endgame, because they said he worked on Endgame. That was before, by the way. Endgame they filmed it before these tweets were released or whatever. So now they're working on, it's back on track, 2023, which is, like I said, they said years away. But at least we have good news. I think we finally, like Mike texted me the other day saying we finally got justice for James Gunn.
I did say that.
It's true. We finally did get our justice as Marvel fans. Both of us agree on this topic. He needs to be directing these films, correct? Yeah. And I think that's really the biggest deal with it there. And hopefully they'll do a 4 and this and that, and they'll even do hopefully he'll be heavily involved in the ride. I told you about the ride a few weeks ago when we were doing Avengers, about the ride in Disney World. So hopefully he'll be involved in that. Hopefully he'll be more involved with the next Avenger movie and Guardians of the Galaxy going forward. And I'm really happy that he's going to be back. So I had to bring that up as the news. Very happy that Disney decided we screwed up, but now all of a sudden we're fixing our mistake. We're fixing it. Hire James Gunn back. Make sure he can make this, because only he can make that Guardians of the Galaxy universe. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So I think that's really exciting. Anyway, now we are going to talk about, like Mike said, now that we got to the news, we're going to talk about Agent Carter.
I love it.
Peggy Carter is the SSR agent who also helped found S.H.I.E.L.D., which we talked a little bit about last week about her. Now we're just going to go right into her storyline a little bit because she has her own story that you could tell. So I'm going to save my breath here for a minute. I'm going to let Mikey talk about Agent Carter as I take a drink over here. So go ahead, Mike.
So to know Agent Carter, you actually need to go back to Captain America, the First Avenger. She was his first. She was kind of the one who helped bring him in to be a soldier, and then he became Captain America. And they had it's honestly my favorite romance in almost any movie ever, because you see her go from
really.
Oh yeah, because you even when he's small Captain America, you see he says stuff and she'll look at him and she'll smile ever so slightly. And it's you can tell she enjoys him even as a wee lad, a little 5'4" weakling.
That's funny.
And then he gets ripped AF, and she's like, ooh. And it's funny too because she does a great job separating her personal relationship with her love for Captain America, because there's that scene where she tells him, look, Cap, you need to go to go save these guys, you're more than a trained monkey to be performing, do something with it. And she's getting yelled at by is he a commander or general? I forget I don't know. I forget his official rank, but her superior officer, played by Tommy Lee Jones. I know that.
I think he's the general or captain. He's one or the other.
And he goes, oh, just because you have a little crush on him, you think you send him away. And she goes, that has nothing to do with it. She's like, I believe in him.
Now, I'm gonna jump in. He like you said, she recruits him for this project.
Yep.
Which is what the hell's it called now?
The Super Soldier.
The Super Soldiers Project. There it is. Thank you. Now, Howard Stark, which we'll talk about him in a few because the whole thing revolves around Howard Stark, which is Tony's father, Iron Man's dad.
But before he turned into a big jerk.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
before he turned into a big jerk, he was still kind of a jerk in this.
Oh, well, duh. I mean, obviously. Anyway, recruits. They recruit them at the SSR, which stands for. See if he knows it, guys. If not, then I know it.
You guys know I don't do acronyms. I have no.
Fine, I'll help you out again.
Is strategic in there?
Strategic, scientific.
Research?
No, reserves.
I don't do
strategic, scientific reserves. I don't know. At first, it was strategic science research. It just that didn't make sense, so they changed it to strategic science reserves. That's a tongue twister for you, God. Jeez, the SSR. Which later on, of course, became this thing we spelled out last week called S.H.I.E.L.D. So, obviously, the Captain America gets recruited, or Steve Rogers, just this kid from Brooklyn, this nobody. And as you guys know, so Peggy, as we're talking about Peggy as well, we got to bring up Cap as well here. We're going to talk a lot about Cap in the episode as well as Peggy today. It's weird because she recruits him, and Howard Stark's like, "Hi, how you doing? I'm gonna make you a freaking a complete badass."
Wish you do that to me.
And yeah, I wish he would do that to me too. So anyway, so they make him the thing. Peggy Carter's like, "Oh man, this is really cool," but then they fight Red Skull together. Now, talk about the ending a little bit, Mike. Yeah,
I was getting there.
Well, I had to bring up how Howard Stark revolves in this because he plays into the. You see him in the.
I hate Howard Stark.
What? He's amazing. Dominic Cooper is a great actor, by the way. If he's watching this, thank you for playing Howard Stark. By the way,
he does a great job. His character though, I don't like him. I think he's a jerk.
Man, I'll tell you, he's great. Just as much as Tony is, and that's where you get the whole Tony is a jerk type of deal.
You see a lot of Tony in Howard.
Absolutely. But yeah, go ahead about the ending there, buddy.
So there's the big, they're in the Red Scar's awesome car, which I want to buy. If I win the lottery, I'm getting a reproduction.
Yeah.
But
I would get Ghost Rider's car probably.
I don't think they can make it light on fire though.
Probably not.
So they're driving.
It can light up though.
Red Skull's about to like escape in his big plane.
Yep.
Captain America's ready to go. She's like, "Wait, Cap," and he's like, and they kiss and share like this like intense like heat
Getting
in their
emotional
eyes.
here, Mikey. I'll tell you, getting emotional here.
And then he like climbs in. So they beat the Red Skull, and the Cap's like, "Peggy, I got to bring her down in the water." And she's like, "No, I can get Howard on the line. We could find a way to fix this." And he's like,
I know what I have to do, like type of deal, right?
Yeah, and so they're talking as if they're gonna see each other because they'd promised each other a dance, and she's like, "He's I'm gonna have to take a rain check on that dance," and she's like, "No, like don't you dare."
That happened once, by the way, later on, but they didn't really happen.
Yeah, that's a dream sequence, so it doesn't count.
I know, so weird.
But they're like, they're like, "Oh man, like, I think her last line is, 'Don't you dare be late.'"
Yeah.
And then she's like, Steve, the line's dead. Oh, gets me every time. And then
it's like a month later, right? It's like a month or is it a year later when Agent Carter starts up?
I believe it's
a year.
It's
a year.
So she went from Special Agent Peggy Carter to
working at an
secretary.
Office,
she's like a secretary. They treat her like she's like
at the what is it? Telephone company? Because she always said
telephone company, but it's actually the
SSR. Glad we said that together there. But the SSR, so she's a secretary, and she's literally the lackey for all the other agents there.
Yeah,
and
they're like, "Oh, babe, like, get me another coffee." And she's like,
"Do you know the other names of all the other characters besides Jarvis?"
Jack,
okay.
Jack's like the hot shot, like 1950s era special agent detective, and everyone knows it. He is basically the one who they've tasked to solve Howard Stark's crime,
Howard Stark was committed for multiple crimes, and he's now America's most wanted, by the way, especially wanted by the SSR.
Yeah, because all of his like experimental like 1950s equivalent of Tony Stark level weapons have been stolen, and they're being used for crime.
And that's why he's been supposedly what the SSR thinks, as you know, they think he's selling them on the black market and making money off of this. But he has nothing to do with it. He was framed completely, as you know. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And that's where it sets up Agent Carter jumping in the car with Howard and Jarvis and saying, "Peg, I was framed." For all of this. So
Jarvis, by the way, is Howard Stark's butler.
Yeah.
Who Tony Stark named his computer program after.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like a flesh and blood man played by James Darcy.
I think so.
I've seen it written as D like apostrophe ARCY. Good actor. He was he was in Mansfield Park with Haley Atwell, who plays Peggy Carter.
Yeah.
So they got some history together.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. That's so cool. Yeah. Right. What were you saying there? They have history together. It's already so that's good.
So they have great chemistry. They are
they're a great team. Who's the other agent next to one? Not Jack. The other
Sosa.
Sosa. That's it. But he kind of has a thing for Peggy.
Yeah, he likes Peggy, but he has two legs, but only one of them works. He like crutches around everywhere.
Yeah, he lost it in the war or something, right? Or was
war injury? But no, I think it was a war injury. But so they all kind of treat him like he's like not as good because he can't use both of his legs.
But he's still one of their top agents, though, at the SSR, because him and Jack were kind of like the top guys that they report to. Who the hell was the boss again?
He's just some guy.
Some guy.
He's like an older, middle-aged kind of fat guy. He doesn't really have any real importance to the
Fair enough. Yeah, he does. He's trying to pin down the whole thing and make it look like the bad thing.
Yeah, he doesn't do much. Like, he just stays in the office and yells at people and tells Peggy not to do stuff.
Well, it's actually really funny. I love this show. And in episode 1, we'll just talk about it right now. What's going on? It's fun because episode 1, she jumps in this car. All of a sudden, she goes to work. It's like an average. She's putting on lipstick at first. Okay, so she's putting on lipstick, and she goes to the telephone company where quotation marks there, which is once again the SSR. Mm-hmm. So she's working there, and all of a sudden, later that night, she goes home, and she gets this car pulls up at random, as you know, this car, which is Jarvis's car, and they're like, get in, and all of a sudden she's like, hi Peg, how you doing? She's like, Howard, what the hell are you like? What the bloody hell are you doing here? Like, and she's like, you're America's most wanted right now. Like, literally, you're, more wanted than actually in S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5. They're one, like we said last week. He's like a public enemy #1 right now. Like, he's more wanted than the Winter Soldier was in that movie. Like, that's how Howard Stark is. And he's like, well, Peg, I don't know if you know this about the Vault, which she does, obviously. She knows what's going on because she's reading. That's what I liked about Peggy. She always had the great instinct.
Yep.
Like, she'll read, and as you know, she'll read, like, the things on the desk, but she won't tell anybody she read the stuff on the desk.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Most of her ability to operate, because she's technically not allowed to be, like, agenting.
She can't be an agent. She's not allowed. She's a woman,
Yeah, she will.
At this point in time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, women were frowned upon back then. Nowadays, Daisy Johnson is the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., so, yeah.
Right. But so this is back before all that, and she's almost invisible throughout the office.
Correct.
Like she will go through people's like papers real quick and like read their reports, and like so she can put everything together behind the scenes. And because she's a woman, no one notices that she's doing any of this.
One of the best, I would say, best female, not just agents, but like you said, characters. But I would say she's one of the more like everyone's talking about Captain Marvel being empowered. Yeah. She's one of the most empowering characters there is because she's smart, but she plays it off like she's stupid, but she's really smart on the inside. And that's what I love about Peggy Carter.
Well, she's smart. She doesn't take any crap from anyone, but she will, if she thinks it'll like help move things forward, she will take crap from them.
Yeah.
Just because it plays into her own hand. She
takes a lot of it from Jack. I feel bad. Jack gives her a lot.
Yeah, but Jack gets his ass beat in like almost every episode.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty funny.
It's funny because he's supposed to be the big macho man, this and that, and meanwhile she's over here kicking tons of ass. He's not. I always found that hilarious.
Yeah, no, that's exactly
an ongoing joke throughout the entire series, by the way.
At one point, I think she actually like beats him up.
Yeah, she does.
Him and I think like 8 other guys, right? They corner her at one point and try to arrest her because they think that she's helping Howard Stark, and she just like bodies these dudes. I also want to talk about Angie.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about Angie.
So Angie is a waitress who is an aspiring actress.
Good friend of Peggy's, by the way.
Because Peggy eats at the same restaurant every day. She calls her English. She's like, "Oh, English, what you doing?"
Yeah,
she's doing those cute, like 1950s accents.
Mm-hmm.
But she basically wants Peggy to move into her building with her and Peggy doesn't want to because her old roommate got stabbed by one of the people she was like after, and so she thinks to keep her like friends around her safe, she needs to distance herself. Her whole arc in this season is being emotionally distant because Cap died and he was kind of the last guy she got emotionally attached to. And so she really does not want any romance, does not want any friends, doesn't want to count on anyone, which is also why I think she is one of the best like empowered female characters.
Like I said, yeah.
Because it's not like it is unrealistic to be like, oh, this woman has solved every problem by herself.
Absolutely.
No one solves everything by themselves. Captain America had tons of help, which Jarvis says.
One of it, by the way.
Yeah, well, Jarvis even says in it, he's like, you think like Captain America, who is like the best of the best, did everything by himself? He's like, no, he had you, he had Howard, he had a whole group of people behind him. Like, no one does it by themselves. Right. And I think that's one of the most realistic messages is you can be strong and empowered and as a man or a woman, and still rely on other people. And that's a message that I think most of these sort of stories fail to get across.
Right.
So Peggy is the perfect balance between badass and caring because she genuinely cares about Howard. She
cares about Angie. She cares about Jarvis. She
even cares about Jack, honestly.
She cares about Sosa. She cares about Jack. Yeah, she cares about pretty much everybody she comes in contact with.
Yeah.
So each episode, by the way, here talks about a different, what are they called? Inventions of Howard's, if you will. And I remember the first one being this kind of glow. I forget what that thing is called, Mike, but
Yeah, I also
it's this
remember what
thing,
it's called, but
this glowy ball.
the coolest
thing.
bomb ever is what it's called.
It
blows up, and then like everything in its radius, all the empty space in between gets crushed in. So like a building will go from the size of a building to basically the size of all the solid matter the building's made of in a ball.
Right.
So like it crushed a building down to like the size of a car.
I do remember that Peggy Carter. Yeah, you were right, James Dorsey, by the way.
Yep. Well, yeah, no, it's the pronunciation.
Jack Thompson. That was his last name. Jack Thompson there. Daniel Sosa, by the way. I'm looking up the name here.
Peggy just uses everyone's last name.
Oh, that's right. That's another one. Roger Dooley. That's the middle-aged guy. He actually has a name.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't
by the way. And yeah, so they're trying to get all these back. And meanwhile, there's also is it Hydra or is it the Russians? Because there's this thing called how the hell
Leviathan.
Thank you.
Yes, it's basically the Russian equivalent of Hydra. So like she fights the guy who he doesn't.
It's just creepy, don't you think that Russia has their own Hydra?
Yeah, it's
can we just talk about that for a second? Like Russia has their own Hydra. What the hell? Creepy.
And they bring back the team like Dugan, they have the mustache from Captain America.
Yeah.
Like all them, they come back in an episode because they get together and the agents from the SSR and Peggy go with them to Russia to save this doctor. And this is kind of when all the agents start to respect Peggy because they realize these like American hero badass people treat Peggy like she's their leader, and they're all like, damn, like the lady we've been kind of bossing around like she's our stooge she's like the best.
Well, we forgot to mention actually about this bomb that the Stark Industries scientist Anton Vanko. Do you know Anton Vanko? Do you remember who he is? Deludes that it came from, a Roxxon oil rig, which we were just talking about Roxxon there for a second. Carter Longwood Starks and Edward Jarvis's butler, they investigate it, and they, like you said, they get to it where it's the Leviathan program, right? So, and then they just kind of keep going throughout. One of my favorite episodes and scenes is season 1 in season 1, episode 2. I can say it backwards, where she kind of disguised herself as a blonde.
Yeah, she puts on a blonde wig. And then I think the funniest joke of the entire season, at least, is in that episode. Or no, in the next episode when they're talking about her and they're like, Peggy, come here, take a look at this picture. And she thinks, oh man, they're going to call me out. And he's like, it's some famous baseball player. I don't follow sports. And she's like, what? And they're like, is that him or no? And he's like, I would know if I was in the same room as that guy. I would sense it. And so it's just funny because it's her. It's Peggy. And right next to her is this guy who they're debating if he's a famous baseball player or not. Because she put on a blonde wig, they do not recognize her.
Yes. Now, we only get to see Dominic Cooper for a little bit in this, but he jumps back and forth because he's trying to hide. So we see Jarvis in every episode, and they're great partners. Mm-hmm. And then remember at the end of the first episode, he was like, and she's like, Jarvis, do not do anything stupid. Yeah. And he's like pulling up this car and like, let's go, Miss Carter. We need to go before the bomb goes off. Like, she's like, I'll be right there, Jarvis. Just make sure you keep the car running. Get it go. Yeah, and jumps in the car. They escape quickly, but she
treated him like a butler in the beginning. And he's like, I can help. And she's like,
and then in an episode, I think it was 5 or 6, Church, where they did a thing where he was fighting on top of a milk thing because they got that bomb back.
Yes, that's my favorite scene. And she stabs this dude through his hand, but he doesn't have vocal cords, so he's just like
episode 2 or 5.
But he can't scream. It just kind of like breathes heavily through his mouth when she stabs him. That's my favorite fight scene. They're on top of a milk car full of these bombs. So enough bombs to like level the city. and they're fighting on top
it was
of it.
episode 4. It was 3 or 4. It might not have been 5. I forget which one 5 was, but it was later. I was after the first 2 episodes. I remember. It's definitely after the first 2 episodes, and they're on the thing, and he's talking through the whatever it is. He's talking through something.
He holds it to his throat, and it acts as his vocal cords for him.
And it's just he's talking and saying, "You'll never get us. We are the Leviathan Project," and that's the first time they hear about it. I think it might have been episode 3. It might have been 2, actually, Mike. I don't even know. I can't remember. But anyway, besides the thing, it was a great season.
Amazing.
Great season. And
should we go into the big bad of the season?
Yeah. And then after that, we can do some other stuff too.
And we can talk about the tie-in with.
Well, there was a tie-in with Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, no, the tie-in with I think Civil War or Winter Soldier.
Might have been Winter Soldier.
But we'll get into that.
You'll tell me in a second there because I'm forgetting things now.
So they go and they save this doctor, and they think he's like a good guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm defecting to America." Turns out he's the head of Leviathan.
Surprise!
And he can mind control people with his voice. He
creepy.
And he used to use it to do more surgery.
Made Sosa jump off in the SSR building. Remember that when Sosa almost jumped off like he was about to commit. And then another time, I think it was Sosa again. Poor Sosa, he's been through hell. Was strapped to the bomb. One of them was strapped to a bomb because this guy was controlling them. I remember all of that. And then there's so there's another character as well, but I guess we have to save her for another
Dottie?
one. Yeah. I mean, she's more season 2, but she's at the end of season 1, isn't she?
Yeah, so she's basically the early equivalent of Black Widow. So she's
a badass.
Yeah, she's got she was in that girls training prison camp thing that Black Widow came from. She is
which is Russian, by the way. The whole thing was a Russian thing.
Yeah, and she is a superior fighter to Peggy. That's the thing.
Speaking of, earlier, we're going to do this in a few weeks here, guys. We're going to do versus. I would love to do
who would win?
Peggy versus Dottie. And we kind of know the results because they both kind of kicked each other's ass a little bit. Yep. We'll go into more of the fight, in this episode. We'll do more of a whole fighting sequence, really, when we do that episode, bud. So am I. But they fought at the end of the season. And she's like, you can't catch me.
Yeah, she basically says, I expected more from you.
Exactly.
I heard you were good. And then I think Peggy kicks her out a window.
Yeah, Peggy kicks her out of a window at the end of it. And, it was the Leviathan set Howard up. And Leviathan's been getting all these projects. And they kind of want to do what everybody's been trying to do, Mike. You know what that is? Build a thing called Captain America. Build. I almost said Tony Stark there. I'm so sorry because we're talking about the Stark. Steve Rogers. The Winter Soldier project as well. That's the thing that what you're talking about, right? The Winter Soldier project.
No, I'm talking about something else.
No, then what are you talking about then? Hold on, fine. So my bad. Anyway, so they're trying to build the Super Soldier, which that's everybody. They don't want the Super Soldier because they're jacked, they're ripped, and they can. Basically, they're like slaves. Like super soldiers can do anything they want. So,
and Howard has the last bit of Steve Rogers' blood.
That is what is in this gold orb thing. By the way, Mike, is Captain America's blood.
Yep,
you're right. I don't know if you remember that.
So Peggy is livid.
Oh, she's completely
she is
bent.
So mad at
completely bent. She goes off on Howard for what we say almost 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's she just berates this guy, which I thought was pretty.
I was laughing the entire time. I couldn't stop laughing. I tweeted him "Were you okay after filming that scene?"
Yeah,
and he got back to me actually saying he goes, that scene was really fun to shoot, by the way. Because I used to tweet with all of them, and I used to tell Sosa, the guy who plays Sosa, I said, he gets a lot of crap, doesn't he? He goes, yeah, but he goes, he does his job and knows how to do it. He goes, it's a lot of fun to be on the show. So I love how the actors, they tweeted with everybody. Yeah. I thought that was cool. So it's a lot of fun, and I love the whole how they have Captain America's blood.
Yes,
Steve Rogers' blood.
Howard basically says this is the greatest thing I've ever created. The only good thing I've ever actually made. 'Cause he makes weapons, right?
Yeah.
And Peggy's like, yeah, but like no one will ever be as good as Steve. Like, there's no point in trying it, right?
Right.
But so
that's the thing. She wants the blood for herself because this is where you said she doesn't get emotionally attached. She's getting emotionally attached.
She's already emotionally attached to Steve Rogers, though. So this is the last bit of her dead lover.
She's really attached to this. Like,
it's a vial of his blood. Of course she's attached to it.
She wants this thing more than Leviathan wants this thing just because she wants to keep it.
Yeah. Well, Leviathan also wants to use Howard Stark's gas bomb to gas off Manhattan. That's the other thing that I think you're forgetting is So the military
I just didn't bring it up yet.
Sorry, the military wants to use. They used Howard Stark's like gas that makes you pretty much you go insane, right?
Yes.
And so
insane you can actually do stuff like jumping off buildings back then and this and like it will make you go completely like it's gonna kill people.
Everyone is going to die. And they used it in Russia at some point, and the doctor who can mind control people was there, and he saw it, and so he hates Howard Stark with a passion. So this has all been his big revenge scheme. So he's going to mind control Howard Stark.
That's right.
To fly this gas bomb into Manhattan, thus killing everyone in Manhattan and ruining Howard Stark's reputation at the same time.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention there's spoilers throughout this entire thing. So if you haven't seen Agent Carter season 1, do that before you watch us. I forgot to say that at the beginning.
Too little, too late on this one. We can put the tags.
Over there, but anyway, that's a crazy scene. I remember Peg was talking on the mic.
That actually might be my favorite scene.
That's my favorite scene right there.
It's the best scene.
No, Cap. Peg. I gotta do this for Steve. This is what he would have wanted. He wanted me to fly this plane. Oh, and blah, blah, blah. He goes, Howard, Steve is dead. Like, you need to wake up. Like, you need to wake the hell up right now.
And because in her telling him to let him go, she lets him go.
Finally, he wakes up. Thank God. I forget what makes him trigger. I don't know if it was Jarvis on the line or if it was Peggy saying something about Steve or just kind of wakes him up, or it might have been the code word or something.
I think
it was a code word.
Yeah, there's a code word that snaps you out of it.
And she said the code word finally because she beat the crap out of it was either Dottie or the other guy, the scientist dude.
They actually beat the crap out of both of them.
Yeah. And she got the code word, and Howard's like, "What the hell am I doing? I'm bringing this thing around." And then there's no time. We need to land this thing in the ocean.
Yeah, so exactly like what Steve Rogers did, and he's like, I'm going to make things right, Peggy, and she's like, no, like he's like, well, you told me before that I'm like a big piece of garbage. She's like, yeah, I was mad at you.
I was mad at you because you stole Steve's blood.
My favorite line. She's like, I was angry with you, Howard. I don't want you to die. Like
you have a lot of favorite parts. I've noticed.
It's a good show, right? I have a lot of favorite parts.
It's quite exciting there. This whole show is quite exciting, but the whole Steve's blood. So what's this tie-in you were talking?
Right. So Howard lives. They save the day. They arrest the doctor. Dottie gets away.
She gets away at the end of this.
But the doctor is in jail, and in like the cool Marvel style end scene, he goes and he meets Dr. Zola. From Captain America, and he's like, oh, so I have heard that you are an expert on the mind. Sorry, my German accent is not good.
That's fine.
And so it's like a little hint as to how he turned himself into a supercomputer.
Right.
Because the doctor's an expert on like the mind, and Zola can build things. So together, it's implied that they can put this guy into a computer.
Right.
That's the last you see of either of these guys. That is the Winter
Soldier tie-in, Mike, because and we were talking about that last week, weren't we?
That's perfect. I know Marvel ties it all together.
Ties into everything, man. That's why I love us doing this podcast here. Anyway, here's like we said last week. We'll recap again. He's now in a computer, by the way, and that's how Hydra infiltrates SHIELD. Now, can we talk about before? I know we have to do season 2 another day. But at the end of season 1, Howard's like, SSR is not really working. We need to do something new. And I guess it's really after season 2 they founded S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
S.H.I.E.L.D. was founded in 1947, technically speaking, which is actually a year after season 1 takes place. And season 2 takes place also like 6 months. It's not really a year.
Yeah.
But in 1947, it was founded by 3 people, I think.
Peggy, Howard,
and who was it? Who was the third? I don't know. There's a third
some
one.
guy probably.
They said there was a third. Nick Fury and Coulson said there was a third one.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing in the base in Captain America Winter Soldier of that all them on the wall of all the different founders of S.H.I.E.L.D. Peggy and Howard. And I remember in that scene, Winter Soldier, speaking about real quick, it's weird because he kind of just stares at that picture for a second of Peggy.
Yeah.
So, but Peggy and Howard and the few other people, I think it was the general. One of the generals helped out too, and then somebody else. There was like 4 of them technically. We'll do it another time, obviously.
Little history of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Little history of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah,
we'll do more of that.
A little more research on that.
Yeah, we will, and we'll get into that. But I like the scene and where he's staring at a picture. Like, man, like I miss her, and he goes and visits her.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I bring that up?
You can, but then I'm gonna have to bash that scene.
No.
Yep.
That's a beautiful scene there, Church. It's a beautiful scene. Let me
talk about the scene, and then I'll bash it.
Fine.
And then we can call it an episode.
All right. Okay. So in the scene, Winter Soldier, right? Not Civil War.
It's Winter Soldier.
All right. Okay. So he goes to visit Peggy. I love this part too. He's visiting Peggy and this and that. And I'd love to see him because he's talking and she's kind of just like out of it, like Steve. Like she's like, Steve. And then she's like, she's old lady. She's old lady Peggy Carter, okay? So she's like not really with it, but she knows who Steve is. And I love to see him because at the end he goes, we never got that dance. He goes, don't worry, Peggy. He goes, we'll get that dance eventually, I promise. And I think she dies, right?
Then she dies, yeah.
It's such a shame. And then later that night he goes home. And turns out freaking his neighbor is her niece, Agent 33, Sharon Carter. We'll do her at another time, too.
Which I also think is kind of weird. But,
yeah, and Captain America's kind of like has a liking. I think he likes both of the Carter women. Like, isn't that weird? Because she takes the shine to Cap, and Cap's kind of taking a little thing to her.
How can you not take a shine to Cap?
And she helps out Civil War. We're going to do a Civil War episode. I can't wait for that because that's a lot of fun. She helps Cap out a lot in Winter Soldier and Civil War. Yeah. But why do you want to bash the scene? Is it because Peggy dies?
No, it's because Peggy is still alive. and like, don't get me wrong, like I said, she's one of my favorite characters. She's, of all the female characters, she's my number one favorite. Cap is obviously my number one.
Sure.
And they're my favorite, like, romance. So clearly, I very much enjoy seeing them together. The thing is, if she is still alive, even though she's old and dying and kind of senile, the weight of Steve being back and like that isolation,
same age,
but that isolation that is so integral to his story, to his character. And that's part of the reason Bucky is so important to him, is because it's like, one of my friends is still alive. Right. Like, I'm not really alone anymore. So, like, and that whole line, the weight of the last line of Captain America, when he runs into the middle of Times Square, and he's like, everything all right, Captain? He's like, I missed a date. And that's how it ends. Yeah. Like, the last line of Captain America is him thinking about Peggy.
Yes.
And it's like a little bit of that weight is taken when you realize she's still alive. Like, I think it would be more impactful if she was dead and he didn't get that last like minute with her as like an old person.
I thought the scene was great. Honestly, one of the best scenes.
I think it takes away from it.
And her funeral was really well done too. You remember the funeral, right? They did that Civil War, right?
That was Civil War.
Civil War. Of her, they did a really nice funeral for Agent Carter because they had the flag on top of her and they had everything, and she really was a great S.H.I.E.L.D. agent as well.
Well, and that's how he decided to go against the Sokovia Accords, is because he's like, Peggy wouldn't have wanted this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go against it. It's like, yeah.
You know, and she was one of the best SHIELD agents. Wouldn't you
She was the best SHIELD agent. She's the OG.
OG SHIELD agent.
She's the best.
They started SHIELD under that. It was the SSR and became SHIELD right after all the stuff. And
you see her in Ant-Man too, when she's kind of like not old, but not super young.
That was really cool. And I spoke about that in our Avengers thing, guys. I'll bring that up real quick and then we'll end this here. Ant-Man, they're talking about the Hank Pym. Sorry, I almost said Howard. I'm so sorry. God, they all sound the same, don't they, Church? Damn.
It's because Stan Lee can't remember names.
Yeah,
he admitted that. That's why they all have like Peter Parker, the alliteration. It's good to help them remember his
I didn't know that actually. That's really cool to know. He had made a great cameo in Agent Carter. Do you remember them? But anyway, so so we'll talk about that in a minute here. But they're talking about the Hank Pym project, which is basically a lot of project names, which is the Ant-Man suit, Ant-Man and the Wasp suit. And they're like, what are we going to do with this technology? He's like, well, I can shrink it down, hide it in a thing, and be done. Call it a day and just retire. They're like, okay, that works. Bye. Like,
yep. That's
that
what we're doing.
Bye. So anyway, here at the
again
every time. Anyway, like I said, so Stanley made a great cameo in this, by the way.
No! What? How? I hung up. Damn it.
Wait, while I go take care of that there. But he makes a great cameo, by the way, in this. And in the in this cameo, he makes.
Sorry, guys.
Right. In this cameo, he makes, what was it? He was sitting, was it on a bench or something, reading a newspaper?
I believe
next to Howard Stark.
Yeah.
And he's like, can you give me the date and time, please? And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And he's like, this is the date and this is the time. It's like, okay, thanks. So he kind of made a cameo even in the TV. And that's what we talked about last week. He made a cameo in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on the boss.
We'll have a whole episode
I just want to touch on that
Stan Lee's cameos. But
anyway, so next week, guys, big week, we're hopefully going to do the Captain Marvel thing. Well, that's still relevant. I think we're going to do Captain Marvel next week, right? We're going to try and do Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Or maybe the fight thing, we'll do that.
I really want to do like a who would wins. So like if any of you are watching and have like a...
Look, if you guys have anything, the comments about the comic books, the TV shows, the movies, anything, please write down the comments below.
We'll talk about it. We'll read your comments
make sure
and we will talk about what you want us to talk about.
That's right. Absolutely. And make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Hit that notification button.
Hit that like button.
The bell, the like button. And please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Yep.
That's our biggest thing. I'm going to leave the links down below for you guys like I did last week. I don't know if you saw that, but I left the links down below for us and for everybody else. This is always a blast, us doing this. I'm glad you guys enjoy just as much as we put it on for you, because we're putting on a show and you guys are watching the show, so that's always fun. Thank you, as always, Mike, for having your input. Mike Churchella is my awesome co-host, guys. Can't, get enough of this guy, honestly, here.
And thank you, Matt, for coming up with this whole idea. This was all his idea.
Matt Kelly, that's my name. Don't wear it out. You can, make sure you follow all of us. And this is always fun. Next week, we're going to do more. But don't worry, we'll be back in Agent Carter Season 2.
Oh, yeah.
And I also told you I want you to watch Cloak and Dagger, so we can talk a little bit about that.
I can do that.
That's a fun show.
I'll binge watch that in one sitting.
It's only 10 episodes, so, yeah. So, thank you guys so much. We're going to get going here. And I'm Matt Kelly.
I'm Mike Churchella.
And this is Marvelous Discussions, and we are...
Signing off.
There you go.